this is TheFabCritic, and welcome to my channel, the place where you can find honest reviews on today's media from an amateur critic. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's hop in today's video. We will be going over episodes 2 through 4 of the new Netflix K-drama, Doctor Slump. Episode 1 recap is already on my channel. I'll be sure to link it so you can watch. As always, I'd like to mention there will be spoilers in this video, so if you haven't watched, I suggest you pause this video to catch up. Without further ado, let's go over a quick recap. In episode 2, both Woo and Nam's parents are aware of the situation their kids are in. Someone wants Woo dead. A man in black attire was seen trespassing and lurking around Woo's apartment, but his plans were foiled by a porch light. To help cheer Nam up after quitting, Woo and Nam decide to get some drinks, only to run into old friends who were at a reunion dinner. For episode 3, the same trespasser broke into Woo's house. The anesthesiologist is looking real suspicious, at first not wanting to be questioned, then agreeing to testify, only to back out last minute. Woo is helping Nam live a little by doing fun things she used to avoid when she was younger. Nam decided to indulge in one of her hobbies of reading dissertations and case reports, and ends up finding something that could help Woo's case. This evidence was rejected by the judge because it was not submitted correctly. After court and cleaning Nam's wound, Woo and Nam decide to go see the sunrise, and decided to befriend one another. In episode 4, they are officially friends, Woo and Nam. Nam goes on a blind date. Cameras are placed all throughout Woo's apartment. Nam's no-good aunts visit to get the tea on Nam's employment. Nam applies for a new job in the countryside, but is rejected due to a poor review that was given about her. That is our quick recap for today. Typically, I'll give out the piece of shit award around this time. However, there's too many mofos who deserve it, and we'll be here for a while if I did. I also didn't think anyone deserved the MVP award, so we'll also skip that as well. I guess you can say I'm being strict this episode. But hey, it's too early and people can switch up on us, so I'm gonna be cautious to avoid embarrassment. Let's dive into my thoughts. I don't know what Woo did to piss someone off, but it's clear they want more than Woo being considered a disgraced doctor. Even Woo felt this too. He mentioned that men in black suits scare him. I'm not sure if they want him dead just yet. Maybe after Woo is found guilty, then they'll try it off him, because they know where he stays, so they could easily take him out if they wanted to. It's clear they are waiting for the right moment. I'm also looking at the police kind of sideways, because no one thought the burglar must have bugged the area. Like, what did their search consist of? Some of the camera placements were in plain sight. You could also blame Woo. He could have done his own search after the police officers did theirs. Just knowing the reputation of police officers from previous cases and situations where police have dropped the ball, I would have done my own search for my peace of mind. I'm a firm believer if you want something done right, you gotta do it yourself. I guess you could also call Woo dirty. Because do you not clean your house? If he did, he would have found some of the cameras, especially the one under the couch. It's actually kind of scary being watched by the person who is trying to destroy you. What makes it worse is he's being watched in his home, not his office, not on the road, his home. A place that should be considered a safe place. I know when Woo finds out he's being watched, his paranoia won't be only for men in black suits, but for black pens as well. On top of his paranoia, we see how Woo never really had a support system to begin with. There are 2 scenes where we get to see the type of relationship Woo has with his family, specifically his parents. In the beginning of episode 2, he has a phone call conversation with his mom, and like Woo, we think she's going to be sympathetic and encourage him to stay strong. This lady literally said, make sure you deal with it quickly, as your father is applying for a prestigious role, and if he's accepted, he'll become the first Asian to do so. And we don't need this, Woo's case, jeopardizing it. And hung up in his face. Can you imagine? That's messed up. She showed 0 ounce of concern for her child. Wasn't concerned with his mental health, if he was eating, and if he was taking care of himself. All she cared about was him not embarrassing the family. But I've seen it way too often. People having kids and treating them almost like an object. Disgusting. We also saw the same behavior from her when she was called into his school when he fainted. She was so upset they called her for something so foolish. And without checking in on her child that she brought into this world, she left. Once again, failing him when he needed her and his dad the most. There's no worse feeling knowing your parents don't love you. Many people may say it's a cultural thing amongst Koreans to not show affection. I grew up in a similar culture that had similar beliefs, and any form of affection labeled you as weak. I grew up around people who didn't hug each other or even utter the words, I love you. It is not until I became an adult where I started practicing those things on my own. Because no one in my family was going to teach me. Because no one ever did or said that to them growing up. To them, it's pretty much normal at this point not to feel or show affection, thus repeating the cycle onto their kids. But I do know it hurts. Deep down, that shit hurts. And it is a type of hurt that we will forever carry with us and struggle with. So when Wu began crying after his phone call, I felt that. I low key feel like maybe Wu was hoping his case would be the situation where he would get a different reaction from his parents. The one time he needed his parents to care and show up for him, he's met with a don't embarrass us type of energy. No compassion whatsoever. Seeing his relationship with his parents, now it makes sense why he was friends with those fake ass people. They were exploiting his need to feel loved. They saw Wu as loyal and a good friend who was almost too good to a T. They kept him around to take advantage of him from borrowing his money, his help, and even his time. Wu found that out in episode 2 after an awkward run in with their former classmates at a class reunion dinner. Also, old boy that was running his mouth as if Wu wasn't sitting next to him deserved his ass beat. Wu's better than me because my foot would have been in his ass. After this incident, his so called friends make it seem like it's Wu's fault, blaming Wu for the classmates' rude comments. Excuse me? And that same bitch that sucker punched Wu is gonna be like, well, isn't it true? Agreeing with the negative comments Dude was saying at the table about Wu. Y'all, these were his friends. Man, people who I call my friends would have jumped the guy at the table talking trash. The fact his friends didn't, I also don't want to hear, actually, one of his friends did try. Bitch, no, they didn't. It was very much given, hey, stop, cut it out. You guys, enough. Even the dude that was talking shit didn't even mind and continue. First off, Wu's friends should have stopped the dude from inviting Wu and Nam to sit with them. Because I'm pretty sure before Wu walked in, they probably was already talking shit about it. In Wu's absence, they should have shut that shit down. It's clear they didn't. They allowed this man to talk shit about their friend. Hence why dude has so much confidence to talk shit in Wu's face. The minute I hear someone talking about my friend, whether my friend is absent or present, I'm going to shut it down each time. And if me shutting it down require me to hit below the belt, like talking about your mama, your failed relationships, your job demotion, shit, even if things got to get physical and I need to beat your ass, I will. Every time if it's on my friend's behalf. Like, what are we talking about? That whole scene made my blood boil. And then for his friends to act like it was his fault? Are you for real? What's also crazy about this scene, Wu revealed that he knew his friends were stealing from him and didn't even ask them about it because he thought his friends needed the money. This right here shows what a good friend Wu is. Them hoes had nothing to say about it. But a minute ago, they were telling Wu about himself. Y'all out here agreeing with those that are accusing me of malpractice and the murder being intentional, yet no verdict has been given. So technically, I'm still considered innocent. And you guys are the actual criminals. Thieves, to be exact. There's evidence for it too. Based on y'all's reaction, everything is true. I enjoyed every second of this interaction because here everyone got to see who's the actual bad guys were. And there's proof. Fake ass hoes. The icing on the cake would have been if Wu had whooped their asses. But I can appreciate a little class and grace from time to time. Something I also liked about Wu is he's a certified weirdo. But he talks to himself, makes faces, is emotional, and is just goofy. It's refreshing to see male characters with personalities. It's different from the stoic, emotionless male characters we often see. I also would be lying if I didn't say at times it was a bit too much. Like, really back a little, okay? Okay. As for Nam, she finally stood up for herself in episode 2. The evil assistant professor was trying to make her take the blame on one of his major fuck ups, which is wild. I do wish she stood up a lot earlier in her career so he would not have mistreated her for so long, but you have to be ready to do so, and sometimes that can take you years to gain the confidence to stand up for yourself. Nonetheless, she said enough is enough and stood her ground and quit. In return, she did get blackballed, and false rumors about the situation spread like wildfire. Not only that, she wasn't even considered a full time worker, so her severance pay was a lot less than what she expected. Even after quitting, her old boss, aka assistant professor, is still ruining her life. What also low key pissed me off was when she went back to her old job to speak with her former coworkers on the situation, they pretty much were like, let's sweep it under the rug because they didn't want to get on the professor's bad side. Excuse me? These were the same people who would try to comfort her and agreed that the assistant professor was terrible. Now, when they have the chance to do something and there's actual proof, aka their employment status, they're like, it's actually not that bad. I can't stand those type of people who march with you in silence, but be quiet when y'all outside. Or shit, they don't even go outside with you, just leave you hanging. I'm naturally an outspoken person. Like, if my job wants to know if something is working or not, they know to ask me because I'm gonna tell the truth. It sometimes can be exhausting and frustrating when you're in meetings and you're putting your neck out on the line, discussing things that aren't working, and your coworkers stay quiet. Like, I'm fighting for improvement that helps us, not just me. It's annoying when they tell you in private, I was thinking the same thing. Or, I wish they changed that. It's unfair what they're doing. I'm I'm happy that you spoke up about it because I totally agree with you. In my head, I'm like, so why didn't you say anything? Have me out here thinking I'm crazy or I'm the only person that thinks this. There's no worse feeling than knowing you are fighting for others and knowing they won't do the same for you. Nam saw it in her coworkers when they decided to sweep things under the rug and chose to ignore it. I very much understand there are people who are just not great at standing up for themselves or are afraid. I get that. But if you see someone who isn't afraid and fighting on your behalf, why wouldn't you support them? I also know when there's a check attached to your mistreatment, you're more likely to tolerate it, especially if that check funds your livelihood. But it's like, damn, what do you stand for? One of my favorite quotes is, stand for something or you'll fall for anything. Clearly, I related to Nam in that situation. Y'all can hear how passionate I am because it has happened to me more than I can count. Moving on, Nam's immediate family handled the news of her quitting and having depression a lot better than I expected. Yes, in the beginning, her mom was in disbelief, but eventually came around. It basically showed how older generations deal with mental health issues, and that's to not deal with it at all. Have you ever tried to explain mental health issues to your grandparents or your parents? Don't let them be immigrants too. They finna call you lazy, weak, crazy, all kinds of names. Granted, they didn't have all the resources or terminology like we do now to know what's going on. All their information came from someone who knew someone who knew someone who had it. I'm not gonna lie, it'd be mad funny hearing how your parents, uncles, aunts, grandparents, whoever attain certain information. It'd be all wrong, but they believe it to a T. And you be like, who told you that? I told you stop going over that lady's house. She don't know what she's talking about. What's crazy is they'll believe a stranger before they believe you. Anyways, I digress. I like how Nam's family, they didn't really understand her situation, but they supported her in ways they could, except for her funky ass aunts. They couldn't wait to rub it in Nam's mom's face. There are family members like that, and shit, we all know a few. Yes, they are family, but they are evil. That's why I'm a big believer in cutting family members off. They sometimes are the reason for your trauma or negative outlook on life. I don't care what your title is, If your action reads as my opponent, I will choose myself every time and remove myself. I don't give a rat's ass. Okay? Okay. Nam should have two-piece that bitch, in my opinion. When I mean two-piece her with a side of drink on the side. Two-piece that hoe. And if you don't condone violence, she should have told her aunt about herself. Like, you so focused on me. How about you focus on your kids? Oops. That's right. One's in jail, and the other one is a dropout of college that is doing what? Nothing. Oh, and why did your husband leave you again? Probably to be with a more youthful, younger, attractive woman. Since you're all lonely and all, I guess I'll entertain you for a little longer. I understand people from cultures where you respect elders and put them on a high pedestal may not agree with said actions, but listen, I do come from a similar background, and look, I'm still here. I may have told a few family members about themselves before, and I'm still breathing. Maybe you should try it. Don't do it if you still live with them and living on your own isn't an option because you may not have the funds or the area, etc. Play your role until it's time to bounce. In all seriousness, if it's abused or you don't feel safe there are a ton of resources out there that can help. Please look into them and get out while you can. The last thing I wanted to discuss were my dislikes, maybe just a dislike. And those are, or is, the drunk scenes. The drunk scenes were doing too much. It felt like people who were acting drunk instead of people who were drunk. You're probably like, girl, that don't make no sense. I dislike when I can tell when an actor is acting. Make me believe you are these characters and your actions are normal responses to you and not performative. I should know I don't drink, so I have no experience of being drunk. So that may right there just cancel out my opinion and not make me a credible source, but it felt exaggerated and I low key wanted to fast forward through it. Let me know if I'm crazy in the comments below. What did you think of the drunk scenes, especially the first time Nam and Wu got drunk? I'll wrap it up with my predictions. I didn't recognize the man who came out the shower at the end, probably because I was too focused on his physique to pay any attention. But I think he was an old classmate of Nam and Wu. I think before Wu and Nam, he was considered the smartest kid in the class, and then Wu took that from him, and now he's getting his revenge. As always, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.